Welcome back, everybody. Today we're diving into marketing, and to help us do that, we've got Alex Smazhuk, a consultant and business coach, who really lays out some core marketing principles, 12 to be exact, that are really, really important for anyone to think about if they're serious about achieving success in this space.
And what's really great about these principles is that they're not really tied to a particular budget or, trends that are constantly changing. Smashuk really highlights how foundational these principles are. It doesn't matter if you're a small bootstrap startup or a huge multinational company.
Yeah, and I love that because it means that there's something here for everyone to learn. So let's jump into principle number one. Right out of the gate, Smazhuk makes a very clear distinction between marketing and advertising. He really hammers home the point that they are not the same thing. I have to admit, I've definitely used these terms interchangeably in the past.
Yeah, it's a pretty common misconception. A good way to think about it is marketing is really like the entire strategic landscape. It's about really understanding your market, how to develop your product, pricing your product the right way, and also crafting your brand's story. Advertising is just one tool in the marketing toolbox. It's really just a way to amplify something that's already working.
So it's kind of like building a house.
Yeah.
Marketing is like laying the foundation, putting up the walls, making sure that the roof is on right.
Yeah.
Advertising is like putting a big, huge sign out front that says, hey, come and look at this house.
Exactly. And Smashuk makes a really good point about the potential dangers of advertising too early.
Hmm.
Just imagine you launch a new product, but you don't really understand who your target market is, and you haven't quite worked out all the kinks yet, and then you go and just pump tons of money into ads. What's going to happen? You're just going to end up amplifying a product that's not quite ready for prime time to a huge audience.
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster for sure. Smuzrook actually recommends validating your idea first without relying too much on advertising. Get real customer feedback, make sure that your offering is refined, and really only then should you even consider scaling things up with advertising.
Right.
You don't want to, you don't want to pour gasoline on a fire that's not ready to burn.
Exactly. It's about making sure that the foundation is solid before you start building the skyscraper. And that kind of leads us into principle number 2, which is positioning. It's all about creating a unique image for your brand and the value proposition that it offers in the minds of customers. But this is where things get kind of interesting because Smosik says that the traditional way of defining your ideal customer is becoming less effective.
Oh, really? Why is that? Because, I always hear about how important it is to, know your target demographic, like really well.
Well, Smosik's argument is basically that, thanks to globalization and platforms like Amazon and Alibaba, products are just way more accessible now to a wider audience than ever before. So all those lines are blurring when it comes to demographics, interests, and even like buying power.
So I guess instead of really focusing on these narrow demographics, it's more about thinking broadly about like the problems that your product or service solves.
Exactly. It's about really considering, all the different types of people who could actually benefit from what you're offering, and then how can you position your brand to really resonate with all of those diverse needs and wants. It's really about thinking outside the box.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. Okay, so that takes us to principle number 3, experience. So you can have all the knowledge in the world, but what really matters is your proven ability to actually solve your customers' problems. And that comes from experience.
Yeah, it's really one thing to just say you're an expert. It's a whole other thing to prove it. Smazhuk uses the example of a freelancer who's been around for a while and has a portfolio full of successful projects. They're going to be much more likely to land a new client compared to a brand new agency that doesn't have that same kind of track record. And that's true even if the agency has like amazing marketing materials, right?
Experience builds trust. It's kind of like choosing a surgeon. I'd much rather go with the surgeon who's performed, hundreds of surgeries successfully than one who just graduated from medical school, right?
Absolutely. It's all about showcasing that you know what you're doing and giving potential customers that concrete evidence that you can actually keep your promises.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so principle number 4 is perspective. Now, this one seems pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, it sounds simple on the surface, but it can actually be pretty hard to put into practice. It's all about stepping outside of your own assumptions and really trying to see your business or your product or your service through the eyes of your customers.
Yeah, I can imagine this is especially difficult for entrepreneurs who are, really passionate about their ideas. It's easy to get, caught up in your own enthusiasm and then maybe lose sight of how other people might see things.
Exactly. Smashuk gives this interesting example of car manufacturers. He points out that for a lot of people who are buying a new car, design is actually more important than the technical specifications.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not always about, the features or the functionalities. It's more about the emotions that it evokes.
Precisely. Customers, they might be choosing a car based on how it makes them feel. Maybe it's the status that it projects, the sense of luxury, maybe it's a sense of adventure. Understanding those underlying desires is absolutely crucial to effective marketing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, on to principle number 5, and this is arguably the most crucial element of any business, revenue.
Yeah, but revenue, as Smashuk points out, is not just about selling a product or a service. It's more about strategically leveraging different income sources to actually build a business model that's sustainable.
So it's not just about, those direct sales. What are some other examples of ways to generate revenue?
Well, he mentions partnerships, commissions, and even investments. So, for example, let's say you have a website developer. They could make money not just from building websites, but also from partnering up with other agencies that offer things like SEO or advertising services.
Right, so they're leveraging their existing skills and their network to create different streams of revenue. Maybe they could even, teach a course on how to build websites and make money that way.
Exactly. It's about thinking creatively and finding new ways to monetize the skills, the knowledge, and the network that you already have.
Okay, principle number 6 focuses on character. So like the essential traits you need to be successful in marketing. I'm really curious to hear what Smashuk identifies as the key characteristics.
He highlights discipline, patience, and perseverance. And I know you're probably thinking, well, duh, those are important for everything, right? But these are especially crucial for marketing, where it can be really easy to just get discouraged if things are slow or get distracted by new and shiny things.
So it's about like really sticking to a testing system, thinking about marketing as an investment and not a quick fix, and resisting the urge to, abandon campaigns too soon.
Exactly. Smashuk even uses the analogy of different musical instruments to illustrate this point. So, every instrument has its own sound and a different way of being played. In the same way, different marketing approaches have different cycles. Some might give you fast results, like, a targeted social media ad campaign, while other things, like SEO, need more time and consistent effort to see results. It's like learning to play the drums versus the violin. They both can make great music, but they need different skills and different levels of dedication.
So it's really about playing the long game in marketing and recognizing that success doesn't happen overnight. You need discipline to stick with your plan, patience to wait for the results, and also perseverance to overcome any challenges that you face along the way. It's more like a marathon than a sprint.
Exactly. And speaking of focus, that actually brings us to principle number 7. So principle number 7 is all about focus, and it's really all about prioritizing those actions that are going to have the biggest impact on your bottom line, especially when you're first getting started.
So I guess that means really laser focusing on those activities that are actually bringing in money, right? I can imagine that's kind of tough when you're wearing so many hats as an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, Smosuk's point is that it doesn't mean every single marketing effort that you do has to be like a hard sell. It's more about being smart about how you use your resources and energy and really focusing on the things that will make the biggest difference. Kind of like a gardener tending to, a new plant, giving it the right nutrients and the right sunlight to help it grow.
Right, right. So like nurturing those first little sprouts, I guess. So, maybe instead of like diving into some huge complex marketing campaign, a startup should really focus on getting those first crucial customers through more targeted outreach or like building up their online presence.
Exactly. It's all about taking those essential first steps and making sure that the foundation is strong so that you can grow later.
And a lot of times that takes resourcefulness, which is principle number 8.
Hmm.
So I'm guessing this is all about making the most of what you've got, right?
Right. It's about finding those creative solutions and maybe leveraging some assets that people often overlook, especially when you don't have a lot of money to throw around. Think about partnerships, word-of-mouth marketing, or user-generated content.
Yeah.
Those can be super powerful tools for growth.
I love that. It's about thinking outside the box, right? So instead of spending all your money on like fancy ad campaigns, maybe you can partner up with another business that complements what you do and offer a package deal or, tap into social media to really get the word out.
Exactly. And Smashuk even points out that social media is a pretty free way to get that initial reach and get some feedback. It's a great way to test your ideas, connect with people who could become customers, and start building a community around what you're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so now we're at principle number 9, energy. And this one really jumped out at me. How does energy play a role in marketing?
Well, think about it. Social media has made the distance between brands and individuals so much smaller. So whether you realize it or not, your company's energy, good or bad, is something that the audience can feel. Customers can really tell when a brand is excited about what they're offering.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've walked into stores before where the employees just seemed like they didn't care, and it was such a turnoff. It's like, if you're not excited about what you're selling, why should I be?
Exactly. And on the other hand, when you meet someone who's like super passionate about what they're doing, it's contagious, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. It reminds me of this time I was at a farmer's market, and this woman was selling homemade jam. She was so excited, and you could tell she really knew her stuff. Ended up buying like 3 jars, even though I only planned on getting one.
That's great. High energy usually means higher revenue because people are just naturally drawn to brands that seem passionate and authentic.
Okay, so principle number 10 brings us back to discipline. But this time, we're looking at it in terms of consistent action, especially on social media. I'll admit I'm totally guilty of just posting randomly whenever I feel like it.
Oh, I think we've all been there. But Smodshuk makes a good point that posting regularly, even if the content isn't perfect, can actually be more effective than posting these like really amazing things every once in a while.
Really, even if it's not, top-notch stuff.
Well, yeah, because the more you post, the more people see you. It's like a numbers game, right? The more you post, the better your chances of getting noticed and getting people to engage with your content.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's not about just trying to create like viral posts every now and then. It's about showing up regularly and building a relationship with your audience, making sure that you have, a solid presence online.
That's exactly it. And there are a lot of things you can do to make it easier to stay consistent. You can make a content calendar and plan out your posts, or use one of those social media scheduling tools to automate it for you. You can even reuse the same content on different platforms so you get more mileage out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's about making it a habit instead of a chore.
Exactly. And, all this talk about facing challenges leads us right into principle number 11, optimism.
Ooh, okay, this is an interesting one. How does optimism play into all this?
Well, let's be real. In the business world, things change all the time, and there are always going to be setbacks and challenges. It's really easy to get discouraged when things don't go according to plan. But Smashuk believes that optimism is about making the choice to see the positive even when things are tough, and finding opportunities that other people might miss.
So it's not about being naive or ignoring problems. It's more about like having a resilient mindset and actually believing that you can overcome whatever obstacles come your way.
Right. It's about seeing those challenges as chances to grow and to innovate. Smazhuk gives this really powerful example of businesses in Ukraine that had to shift their focus to international markets because of the war. And a lot of them actually ended up doing even better and becoming more diverse as a result.
Wow, that's pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
They turned a crisis into a chance to grow.
Exactly. And being able to adapt like that is crucial when it comes to harnessing the power of momentum, which is our 12th and final principle.
All right, tell me more about momentum. What does that look like when we're talking about marketing?
Well, Smashuk uses this analogy of a bus. So, imagine you're trying to push a bus from a dead stop. It takes a ton of effort to get it moving, right? But once that bus starts rolling, it gets easier to keep it going.
So I guess what you're saying is those early marketing efforts might feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill. You're working hard, but you might not be seeing those results right away. But if you keep going, things start falling into place, and you gain momentum, and it gets easier to get results.
Exactly. And this is where all those other principles, the discipline, the patience, the perseverance, they all really come into play. It's about trusting the process, staying consistent, and knowing that all those little actions will eventually lead to big progress. You can't give up before the bus starts moving.
So it's kind of like a snowball effect, right?
Yeah.
The more you keep pushing, the bigger it gets and the faster it rolls.
Exactly. And that momentum can be huge for your business. It can help you attract new customers, generate leads, and ultimately achieve your goals.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground. 12 principles, and each one is just packed with really valuable insights. It's really interesting to think that these 12 principles, although they're really aimed at business success, can also apply to us in our personal lives too. I mean, we are in a way all marketing ourselves, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. I mean, whether we realize it or not, we're always kind of putting ourselves out there, through our resumes, our online profiles, even just how we interact with other people.
So those principles, like positioning, experience, energy, they're all important parts of how we navigate our careers and our relationships. It's like we're each building our own personal brand.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. We position ourselves as experts in our fields. We showcase our experience through the things we've accomplished, and we project a certain kind of energy that can attract or repel people.
And just like businesses have to adapt to the market changing, we have to be flexible too, and willing to learn new skills to stay relevant in our careers. That whole idea of lifelong learning is really important for growing as a person.
Absolutely. And Smazhuk's points about discipline, patience, and perseverance are really relevant here. Building a successful career doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time, dedication, and the willingness to keep going even when you face rejection or setbacks.
It's about having a clear vision of where you want to be and taking those consistent steps to get there. And of course, celebrating your wins along the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to reach the next goal that we forget to appreciate how far we've already come.
Yeah, celebrating those small wins is so important. It keeps you motivated. And remember, having supportive people around you who believe in you can really make all the difference. It's just like in business. Having a good network of mentors, colleagues, and friends can give you amazing guidance, encouragement, and inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. It's about having a community that supports you and helps you stay focused on your goals.
And let's not forget about optimism. It's so easy to get discouraged when we're dealing with tough stuff, but having a positive mindset can really change everything.
Yeah, it's all about seeing those challenges as opportunities to grow and to learn instead of just roadblocks. Remember that story Smazhuk shared about those Ukrainian businesses that thrived even though there was a war going on? That's like a perfect example of optimism in action.
For sure. It's about believing that you can overcome obstacles and create something positive, even when things are really hard.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into these 12 marketing principles, it's really clear that they're not just about business. They're about life.
Yeah, they give us a framework for dealing with challenges, building relationships, and ultimately reaching our goals in all areas of our lives, both personally and professionally.
And I think it's so important to remember that marketing at its core is about connecting with people authentically and sharing something valuable. It's not about trying to trick people or manipulate them.
Exactly. It's about building relationships that benefit everyone involved, where both sides feel good about the outcome. So whether you're marketing a product, a service, or just yourself, that principle of genuinely connecting with people should always be your top priority.
So well said. I think that's the perfect way to end this episode. These 12 principles, as we've seen, offer so much wisdom that all of us can use no matter what our jobs are or what we're trying to achieve.
It's been awesome exploring these ideas together. Hopefully, our listeners are feeling inspired to take action and start using these principles in their own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep marketing yourselves with passion, purpose, and integrity. The world is waiting to hear what you have to say.